Hope, which is credited with various magic properties, had kindled a sickly sort of subglow in Darcy Cole's pasty face as she arrived at Miss Green's address to keep her appointment. Part of it subsided at sight of the indication that the elevator was still on strike. The remainder had vanished long before she had surmounted the 4 flights of stairs and stood panting dolorously before Gloria Green. That composed person feigned polite surprise. "Why, what's the matter, Darcy?" "Those awful stairs. How do you ever do it?" "2 steps at a time," explained the actress practically. "Cuts the distance in half." Darcy looked skeptical. "It would kill me," she declared. "Very likely, as you are now. We are going to change all that." The gleam returned into Darcy's big, dull eyes. "Yes?" said she eagerly. "How?" "I should say," answered the actress with a carefully judicial air, "that you'd better start in by learning to give up." "Give up what?" "Everything that makes life worth living." "Is it a joke?" asked Darcy dubiously. "Far from it. Food, for instance. You eat too much." "Often I don't get any luncheon at all." "And too irregularly," pursued the accuser. "You drink too much." "Gloria, 1 cocktail before dinner?" was the indignant response. "And too regularly," went on the relentless judge. "1 is too many for a girl with your complexion." "Go on," said Darcy with sullen resignation. "You sleep too much." 8 hours isn't. "You interrupt too much," broke in the mentor severely. "You laze too much. You shirk and postpone too much. You nibble too much candy. When you feel below par, you take a pill instead of a walk, don't you?" The girl stared. "How do you know all these things about me?" "Read 'em in your face, of course, and a lot more besides." "Nobody else ever read 'em there, not even the doctor." "Probably he has, but is too polite to tell you all he sees, or too cynical to believe that you'd take the trouble to do anything about it if he told you. Or perhaps he just doesn't see it." "Then how do you?" "I'm an expert, my dear young innocent. It's part of my profession to be good-looking, just as it is to keep well-read and well-dressed, and a lot harder." "How can it be harder for you? You're beautiful just naturally." "I'm not beautiful. Your Hal Complete or any other artist with a real eye could reduce my face to a mere scrap heap of ill-assorted. I'm reasonably pleasant to look at because I work hard at the business of being just that. And I'm going to keep on being pleasant to look at for 20 good years yet if hair and clothes will do it." "Clothes help such a lot," sighed the girl. "When are you going to help me with mine?" Gloria Green looked despairingly at the girl's slack and flaccid body. "When you develop something to put 'em on," she said curtly. "But I thought that if I had some nice clothes, you'd develop inside them like the butterfly and the chrysalis," supplemented the other. "Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way with humans. Didn't I tell you yesterday that it wasn't going to be easy?" "Yes, but you're not telling me anything now. You're just discouraging me." "Why, you poor, spirited little grub. You haven't even touched the outer edge of discouragement yet. Here, can you do this?" Lifting her hands high above her glowing head, Gloria swept them down in a long curve of beauty until she stood bowed with unbending knees, her pink fingers flattened on the floor. "Of course I can't," whined Darcy. "Try it," suggested the other enticingly. "It isn't hard." Darcy did not stir. "I've got corsets on," said she. You have awful ones. Take 'em off. I will, she promised. Performance, not promise, was what her instructor demanded. Do it now. With a sigh, the girl obeyed. It makes me look sloppier than ever, she lamented, glancing toward the mirror. Not actually, was the counsel of dubious comfort from the other. You only feel now as you've been looking all the time. Don't get another pair until I tell you. I'll pick 'em out if you still want them when Andy Dunn is through with you. Who's Andy Dunn? Andy, explained the actress concisely, is the devil. That's encouraging, murmured the girl. Anyway, you'll think he is. He's my trainer. Trainer? You talk as if you were a prize fighter. I cut Andy's lip with a straight left once, said Miss Green with a proud, reminiscent gleam in her eye. It was one of the biggest moments of my life. Taking from her desk the note which she had described to Jacob Remsen as a commutation ticket to the last station down line, she handed it to Darcy. The girl read it. Andy, this is Miss Darcy Cole. Put her through as you did me, only more so. Gloria Green. Darcy tucked it carefully into her imitation leather roll, saying, It's awfully good of you to take all this trouble for me. Oh, it isn't for you entirely. Call it part of my contribution to the general welfare. It gives me a pain in my artistic sense to see a woman job spoiled, like a good picture daubed over by a bad amateur. So if I could rescue you as a brand from the burning and put you back on Earth a presentable, I'll feel like a major of the Salvation Army. That's why I decided to take you in hand. And may heaven have mercy upon your life. Amen, confirmed Darcy, piously, filling for the introductory note. Only, added Gloria slowly, I want to be clear on one point. I'd like to know for whom I'm really doing this. Why, for me, of course, said Darcy, big-eyed. Not for anyone else? Who else should there be? I told you there wasn't any. I know. You swore there was no man in this. Then on top of it, you roused my darkest suspicion by acting like a schoolgirl yesterday and tearing your hair because the first casual man that comes along doesn't gaze soulfully at you when he takes his departure. Gloria, I hate you. Do you mean Mr. Remsen? Surely you don't for a minute imagine... No, I don't suppose Jack has anything to do with it personally, but I seem to get a strong indication of man as a species somewhere in the background of this business. Pink grew Miss Darcy Cole, then red, and eventually scarlet, under Gloria's interested regard. You see, exclaimed that acute person. Come now, explain. It's Maud Rain's fault, blurted Darcy. Agreed that it's all Maud's fault. Go on. No, it isn't all Maud's fault, corrected Darcy with a palpable effort to do exact justice. It's partly the British War Office's fault. International complications. Maud and the British War Office. Mr. Lee